Okay, if you're curious about this system, here's what you get. You get one of these things. You get an audio-video cable, which is actually quite long. Good job on that. Get a little bag. And you get a little manual. Box. Box is nice for what it's worth. Now when I first turned this thing on, I got a collection of crappy NES games, or knockoff NES games. 130 crappy games. The video before this shows those games. Now for whatever reason, those games are on this cartridge, and they stopped working after a while. So I don't know what happened, but when I first turned it on, I didn't get the games that I thought I would get, but eventually I did. It's powered by a battery, lithium, or you can use, I think it's AAA. I've had good life with the battery. I've had a battery last about 4 hours. That's nice. The system is built pretty cheap, but the content of games makes up for that. Now there's triggers up here which are kind of wonky. The D-pad is a little bit soft. The buttons are soft. Now the buttons aren't angled, but you can live with that. There's volume on the side. Now the power button is wonky. It's very sensitive, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, which isn't good. So I don't quite know what that's about. So as of right now, nothing. Meanwhile, I'd been using this for days with no problem. So the on and off switch is probably going to fail on you. You can open it up, have a look at it, maybe fix it. I opened it up because I had a massive piece of dust here. I'll post a picture of what the inside looks like, but there's no SD card inside. It looks like all the games that are here are on a chip. Look at that, I can't even turn it on. Well, that sucks balls. Let's try again. So if you're going to buy this, be prepared not to have it to work after a while. And be prepared not to have the card that comes with it not work. Okay, so I'm getting nothing. Nothing. Now when it does turn on, it turns on nice and fast. See, look at that. Nothing. Well, that's a bad sign right there. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to open it up and see if I can help the connectors a little bit, and then this will be continued. Okay, if you want to see what it looks like opened up, there you go. There's the screen. I don't see any slot for an SD card, so I'm assuming the games are somewhere here. I'll see if I can get the power switch to work, and I'll be right back. Okay, I took it apart. I fiddled around with the power switch, and just like that, it works. So if you get one of these things and it doesn't want to turn on and off, open it up and look at the power switch. The only thing is, if you do open it up and you put it back together, make sure that the D-pad and the buttons are lined up. I did that the first time. I didn't have them lined up and they didn't work. So I've made a video with the list of all the games. I'll put a link to that. There's a lot of games. I think it took me like 38 minutes to go through all of the games, so there's quite a bit. So there's NES games, there's about 792, there's some Capcom games. I think there's 31. Genesis games, 346. Game Boy Color, 120. Game Boy, 100. What is that? Sega Master System, 168. Game Gear, 195. And this SG-1000, there's 53. There's a save state, so you can play the game, save it, go back. That works. For a cheap console, it has an amazing selection of games. Now you can't add to them. At least I don't know how. The little bit before you saw the board, I didn't see any space for a chip. Now I'm playing it without this cartridge. So my guess is that this cartridge just died. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. So when I first got it, this thing was plugged in. It came up with a bunch of crappy games. Pulled it out. This came up, put it back in. Was never able to get that list of games again. And I've tried button combinations, so I don't know. It's a mystery to me. But those games are garbage, so these are the games you want. Like I said, the D button feels squishy, but it's functional. I can't remember what I paid for this thing. I think I paid $25, something like that. When it works, it's great. It's a pity that the power button is wonky. So normally what happens is you turn it off and turn on. Sometimes nothing happens. Turn on again. There we go. So it's sensitive. So if you're going to be using it, I guess be careful that you don't accidentally touch it. That's a bit of a shitter. But what can you do? Now I didn't see many dupes in the games. There's a couple games that are mislabeled. There's a couple games that are there twice but under different names. And there's a handful of cheap knockoff games that somehow found their way in here. But for the most part, most of them are real games. It's a shame that this thing wasn't built better, because if it was built better, it would be on par with the Pocket Go in terms of fun. But as it is, I can see this thing breaking pretty quick. But if you get it cheap, if it lasts a year, maybe that's enough. But as you saw, it was barely turning on and off. So I think this little switch here is going to give you trouble in the future. But you know what, if you can find it cheap, there's lots of games in there. I'm sure there's going to be something there that'll amuse you. When I've used it, when it worked, it's great. But you can just see it's very sensitive to that. So if you touch that, there, turns off. So that's not cool, but it is what it is. If you can find it cheap, I think you'll have fun with it. Pity they didn't make it a little bit better. But that's the way it goes. You want something better, you gotta pay more.